at Open Outcry. I got Bill sitting here with me, and we're pouring some beers. We're having a good time. What is with the sound checks? Like they whoop, they yell. Whoop.
Yeah. It's like I think it's an ICP cover band, actually. They're saying whoop whoop to their Juggalo fans.
One of the funniest things that happened out here at this Oktoberfest, we had somebody walk up and ask who the guitar player is, and Mike isn't here. It's the first time a fan has ever showed up at one of our tents and said, I want to meet the guy that plays the guitar. Were you taken aback by that?
Usually it's like they don't want to ever have anything to do with Mike. Like they tune out when he talks or plays guitar, but someone tried to seek him out today, and he wasn't here to enjoy that. I don't understand, but
I felt bad for him.
I didn't at all. He probably sent her, to be honest. He's like, that's my aunt. Go over there and ask for me. Can we talk about this menu, by the way, for a second?
Tell me about the menu.
Do you know how you could say the most normal word in English, but when you say it in German, it sounds like you're getting cussed at or yelled at?
Even the nicest things that Germans say, like ich liebe dich, right? Yeah. That's I love you in German.
Ich liebe dich.
Yeah. It sounds like they're invading Poland.
Right. Yeah. So I'm looking here and I'm trying to pronounce some of these things, but then I saw one that's called Flammenkuchen, and apparently that's just pizza. So, if you'd like some Flammenkuchen.
Right. This is why half the countries just let them march in back in 1938.
They just wanted pizza from Poland, and then all of a sudden they're just handing their guns over. Like, fine, we'll take your country too.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost a weekend and you don't know what to do. Or you just need something fun to listen to.
Southside Pod!
Yes, we're on the air.
Pod.
And the gang's all here, all things on the South Side. We're listening to the Southside Pod. Looking for the best Southside breweries. Or you might just need an awesome place to eat.
Southside Pod!
Mount Greenwood, Evergreen, Blue Island, Beverly, Payless, and Allsup too. You're tuned into the Southside Pod.
Southside Pod!
Oak Lawn, Midlothian,
Southside Pod!
Oak Forest, Chicago Ridge, Flossmoor, and Bridgeview. You're listening to Southside Pod!
We're going to learn about another Oktoberfest coming up here on the South Side and visit a brewery that has started canning and distributing their beer and is slaughtering pigs right off a farm at 111th and Pulaski and making delicious German sausages at their place. So we're going to be stopping in there later on. We're also going to take a look at the South Side's independent wrestling scene with Windy City Slam. And I've got some guys down here at the bar we're going to talk to here in moments that have a brew and sip event going on this weekend with all kinds of breweries around the South Side. This episode of Southside Pod is brought to you by Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor. Tom's got my money. He's got Bill's money. I don't know what Mike's problem is. He should get with him because Tom's done a great job over the last year or so with all this uncertainty. Reach out to him, 773-779-0023, or stop in and see him at the corner of 111th and Kedzie. Tara McGuffich is sitting here, Kevin Klinger, and they're both from the Brother Rice Dad's Club, and you guys are having a brew and sip event. Welcome down here to the bar. How are you?
Chris?
I have to admit, I got sucked into this.
Yes,
and I think
we all did.
Oh, you guys tricked me, though. Okay, here's the thing. I got bamboozled. Terry goes to me, you know all these breweries. You do this stuff on your podcast. Do you think you could help out a little bit with this event that we're having over at Brother Rice? And my kid's a freshman, and I'm like, whatever I can do. I'm going to be part of this for the next 4 years. I'm an alum.
Freshman parents are the best. Absolutely.
I show up at a meeting over at the school, and you guys have me on the letterhead. You put my name on there as being part of this committee, and I'm like, oh no, I'm part of this whole thing. And ever since then, it's been an interesting ride. And I'm looking forward to an event that's coming up this Saturday. Tell me the premise behind the Brew and Sip. You've got a bunch of breweries coming in. You have Thornton Distilling showing up at it. It's going to be just a taste as many kinds of liquors and beers and brews, and there's going to be food trucks. Give me the lowdown on this event coming up this Saturday.
Absolutely. So this actually started... So Terry and I have seniors right now. So when they were freshmen 3 years ago, they had the inaugural Brew and Sip, and it was super successful. It actually poured rain the night that it happened, so everyone was stuffed in the cafeteria, but I think we had over 400 people come out. Great success. And then COVID happened. So it didn't happen for 2 years. In the meantime, Brother Rice established what's called the Crusader Cares Fund, the Parents Club sponsor, and it goes toward families who, if they've lost a parent while their student is at Brother Rice. And ironically, one of our Dad's Club board members passed away last year. We actually had 2 dads pass away last year within the school. So there's clearly a need for this. It's a super great cause. We decided to rekindle the Brew and Sip and put those funds, anything we generate goes toward that fund. And it's an awesome event. So
we've got a lot of breweries. We've got a lot of people that we've gone and reached out to. A lot of them have appeared on Southside Pod before. Thornton Distilling is going to be out there. Yeah. They make great stuff there. I know Flossmoor Brewing Station going to be there. They've been on the show a bunch of different times. Hailstorm Brewing, which is the official brewery of Sox in the Basement, one of the other podcasts on the Broadcast Basement On Demand Radio Network. Blue Island Beer Company, they've been on the show a bunch of times. The list goes on and on.
You see a theme here?
Yeah, I mean, well, I was used, I believe.
Thank you, Chris.
I was used.
You see why we asked you?
Yeah,
thank you, Chris,
used.
and thank you to all these breweries, honestly, for real.
But you have some others that are coming in as well. You got some restaurants and some bars and stuff like that. Can you remember any of them off the top of your head? The one that I didn't go and get. Like, I can name off the ones that I was involved with. What did you guys do?
We've got Nicky V's is coming with a food truck. Hot dog stand. They were down in Oak Forest. He's a Brother Rice alum, and he just opened a place at 111th and Pulaski. So he'll be there. Home Plate Catering, new startup company. They're going to have tacos. We got S&T Pizza.
The price on this, I think, is way too low.
Ridiculous.
What is
Great
it?
deal.
What is this?
It's $25, $30 at the door.
Right. I mean, Evergreen
if you buy
Park.
a table, you get extra tickets. So go buy a table tomorrow.
Listen, Evergreen Park, I was just there this past weekend. Their library did an event where they had like 4 breweries at it, or 5 of them or something like that. It was $40. You guys are doing it for 25 in advance and 30 at the door. It's crazy. Yep. And they can go online on Brother Rice's Facebook page. I know.
Yeah,
I saw
go to the main Brother Rice
High
High School Facebook page. It's the last post. It was a couple hours ago. It was just posted. There's a link there. Go buy your tickets or Google it. You'll find it.
All right. And
Brother Rice Brew and Sip.
I'm going to have you guys hang out for a minute down here at the 9-Foot Homemade Oak Bar. We're going to visit a local brewery in the area in just moments here. We're going to talk independent wrestling on the South Side, and there's so much going on up ahead. If you listen to the Broadcast Basement On Demand Radio Network and other shows on it besides Southside Pod, you might listen to Sox in the Basement, the podcast for fans by fans. 30 minutes of Sox, a terrible season. Of course, they ended 81-81. It makes perfect sense. The entire offseason, for the second year in a row, we are going to be bringing the $1,000 guest bounty back. Any kind of guest, doesn't need to be a baseball player, although we did have Liam Hendricks and Jake Berger as 2 of the guests during the guest bounty last year. Any guest whatsoever you can bring on the show, if the fans vote it as the best guest of the offseason, you win $1,000. And all you have to do is reach out to us and tell us about the guest and how to contact them, and you get credit if they come on the show, and then it's voted the best guest of the offseason. An easy $1,000, and it's all brought to you by the law offices of Parente and Norum. When you've been injured, you need a team that will do what it takes to fight for your rights. The insurance companies only care about one thing, their bottom line. Law Office of Parente and Norum, their team has experience, dedication, proven results. That's what you need to get the care and compensation you deserve. They have recovered over $400 million for their injured clients and loved ones. For a free case evaluation, reach out to the law offices of Parente and Norum. Call or text them today, 312-641-5926, or visit pninjurylaw.com.
A pitcher of beer, let's order another pitcher of beer. That pitcher of beer should come over here. I love that pitcher of beer.
It has been a minute since I have seen Neil Byers and been inside of Horse Thief Hollow. How are you, my friend?
I'm great, Chris. How are you?
This brewery, I remember when you first opened up. You were one of the few that was in the area on the south side, sitting here in Beverly, about 104th and Western, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about your Oktoberfest. We're going to talk about the beer that I'm drinking right now, which is a rare style that I don't see made enough around Chicago, let alone the south side, that you made for the Oktoberfest season. But we're also going to talk about your lineup, because now people can get Horse Thief Hollow beer all over the place. Like, anybody listening to this podcast right now can go pick it up I mean, even though it's cool to come here and eat the food and enjoy like the scene in Horse Thief Hollow, you can now pick up all kinds of beers on the shelves, which I think is awesome. There's so much to get into here. But first off, thanks for the big stein of beer. You know how to do Oktoberfest season.
This is the best time of year for beer. We got a dark German lager in front of us, but so many great beers coming out, and just the weather kind of cooling off and fires in the backyard. This is what it's all about.
Wasserwolf Jaeger, is that what you're calling this? It's 5.3%. It is a Munich style Dunkel, and I love Dunkel, but nobody does that. Everybody, when they do an Oktoberfest, they're doing a Märzen. You're doing something a little different, and it's awesome. First off,
yeah, this beer was based off of that Wasserwolf Jaeger is my dad's fishing club back in the 70s. Waterwolf Hunter, which is like about Northern Pike, but a Märzen's great. It's refreshing when it's like 65 degrees out. I think this beer really hits when it's like 50, 60 degrees out. It's just a little bit bigger, a little bit maltier, a little bit more caramel. We actually won a GABF medal with this one a few years back, and we've been rolling with it for 10 years now. It's my favorite beer of the year. Just emulates what this time of year is all about.
You're a chef. The food here is always great. You're a brewer. All these expertise. But then I listen to you talk about this beer, and I think to myself, like, he marks this on his calendar. Like, I can't wait until I get to make this. How many of those do you have a year where there's something coming up where you're like, I can't wait for this to happen, and it feels like this is one of those things?
Yeah, there's actually 2 beers on the calendar, Wasserwolf and then Cheval Dieu, which is the next one. I'll be making that next week. So I actually make all the sweet potato and the cinnamon and vanilla that goes into Cheval Dieu. But yeah, there's 2 beers on the calendar in a year.
Yeah, it's your big season. Look at the smile on your face. I love it. You love talking about your beer. I like this one. It's what a German beer should be. It to me, having it in the big giant glass stein and drinking it here in the brewery, I could sit back and do this all day long. It's an easy drinking beer. It's got a lot of flavor to it. It's a heartier beer, and this is the time of year I enjoy drinking those. I mean, from now into the winter, this is my favorite time of beer season, you know? I mean, people like sitting out on porches and drinking the light stuff. I like it when the chill gets in the air and I drink stuff like this.
For sure. And then every time you take a sip, you hear that ziggy zaggy. And man, it just brings warm, it's just fond. It's a fond time of year. Like I said, we're having fires in the backyard, windows are open, drinking good beer.
It's awesome. And you talk about that song and the German band. You have one of those in here, German band, playing music, Oktoberfest, Horse Thief Hollow in Beverly. I think you're the last one of the season, but you're one of them that I look forward to each and every year. I was telling you before we sat down here, I remember walking in when you were brand new, just checking your place out, and I happened to walk in on Oktoberfest night and just like wandered into a giant party. The food was incredible. The band was incredible. You've had many years now to perfect your Oktoberfest. Tell me a little bit about what's happening here on October the 14th.
This kind of dates back to my dad influencing me when I was younger, bringing me to different German restaurants and Oktoberfest, and just left a great impression in my mind. So I remember the first year we did this, a lot of the people that came out didn't really know how to respond to the crowd and the band and the songs and everything. They didn't know that ziggy oi 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 part for the ziggy zaggy, and now it's just turned into this incredible occasion. I'll personally make 3 different sausages. We'll do a Jägerwurst, a Knockwurst, and a Bratwurst. We got Wiener Schnitzel. We actually got pigs from the ag school that I butchered yesterday to supply all the pork for this. We got Schweinbraten, all kinds of different authentic German food. We got 3 different German beers on. We got the Paloma band coming from the north side. So it's full tilt, authentic German, and a really great time.
That goes back to something we've talked about on this show before. You get your cows from the ag school. You got the pigs for this. I mean, the way that it goes immediately farm the table inside of Horse Thief Hollow is one of the cool little extras that nobody else seems to do. And that ag school up at 111th and Pulaski, it's not very far away from where you guys are in Beverly at 104th and Western.
Exactly. And we talked about this with the beef in the past, but we have total control. I know every ounce of what, is going into the bratwurst and what's going into the knockwurst and all that. So I take a lot of pride in this stuff, and it's very meaningful to me to provide a really great quality, authentic product for the customers, and like people are taking notice, and it's really rewarding for me personally.
All right, now I want to talk about the coolest thing that I saw today, because I figured we were going to come in, we're going to talk about Oktoberfest. I figured we were going to have a beer. You brought out a Stein. I was like, this guy knows what he's doing. It's a Dunkel. I'm even more impressed. We're talking about Oktoberfest. I'm excited about October the 14th. But then you bust out these 4 beers that you are now canning and distributing. What was it like to finally get to this point? Because I think every brewer starts off, brewing a few beers, then they maybe decide to open up a brewery. But the idea of canning and having your stuff available for people to pick up and bring into their own home bar is so far away. It must have been such a big deal to get to this point.
This is a culmination of, as you'd imagine, years and years and years of planning. And these specific cans took 9 months to design. There's a ton of meaning behind every element of the can, and I'm so proud to see them. Jack with Studio Malt did a great job working with me as far as the artistry is concerned and the overall layout. And there's a lot of hidden messages in the design, so it's not just here's our name, here's our beer.
Boogie Chillin' is a grapefruit pale ale. Delta Hurricane is an Imperial Milk Stout. Little Wing is your Pilsner. Spoonful Hazy IPA. And all 4 of these we have tried before on this program. All 4 of them are excellent beers, in addition to the other ones that you offer when you come into the brewery. It's a great selection of beers, but it's also beers that you've been developing for a long time. Is there something to be said for the fact that having a brewery, but also being a brewer and being able to take your time, get it right, you don't get turnover, you don't all of a sudden have somebody walk in and say, I got to do it differently, or I'm going to put my own take on it. You develop these, it took time to develop them, get them to this point, make them good enough that people want to go pick them up at a store shelf. There's something for that. The fact that you're sitting there directing it all these years.
We live in a society that's kind of intimidating as far as business is concerned. When you see other breweries that are expanding beyond what you're capable of doing. But I'm very proud in that instead of chasing expansion, I'm chasing perfection. It took 18 different batches before we settled on the Pilsner recipe. It took me almost 2 years for the Boogie Chillin', the grapefruit pale ale. I'm really proud of the product that we're putting out, and yeah, it might have taken longer than the original business plan had stated, but this is as good as I can do, and I think it's a really good product.
It's quality, not quantity with you. That's what I get from you. And I want to say this. If you go out and you find these beers that they have on shelves, and I think this is really cool. You got a brewery in Beverly that is, now it's going to be sitting there next to every other beer on the shelf. It's like reading the back of an album cover. It's like looking inside the CD and the lyrics are inside of it, and maybe there's a hidden map behind it. I want to say Weezer had that in the back of one of their albums, and there's so much going on with the can. It's not just pour it and throw it in the trash, right? Why is that?
Allman Brothers Eat a Peach album. That's what the influence. No, I'm just kidding. But actually, that's an interesting point because, I think we wanted to strive for something that was visually appealing instantly, but also had a lot of depth to it and it had a story behind it, and just try to explain to the consumer why we're inspired by the things that we're inspired by.
The beer is great. The stories are great. The reasons behind them is great. The fact that the pigs are coming in here from a couple of blocks away for you to make sausages out of them for the 14th for Oktoberfest, that's great. Horse Thief Hollow, if you've never been there, get there. 104th and Western in Beverly. October the 14th is Oktoberfest in Neal. They can get this stuff on most shelves. Where do they look for the beers?
Yeah, so we just kicked off a couple weeks ago, and we're just making our way through the suburbs. We got Tinley Park, Open Bottle. We got Bitter Pops up on the north side. We got Town Liquors down the street. We got County Fair. Yeah, it's making its way all over the place.
Well, we're going to have a few of them in the bar where the broadcast basement is, where Southside Pod records, because this is awesome. Very, very cool. Thanks so much for sharing this with me. I didn't expect you to line up all the cans here on the table for me to check it out and pour me a big stein of beer, and you're always such a gracious host, and I'm happy for you. I really am that you got to this point, you got these beers out, and I'm looking forward to a big Oktoberfest on October the 14th.
Well, I appreciate you repping the South Side, Chris. You do a great job, and happy to be here with you.
It's the middle of the show song. 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 Chris had nothing to put here, so he put this song. It's the middle of the show song.
Switch to a new age of life. Hyatt Home Medical Equipment wants to keep you independent and in your home. Here's how it works. They basically make a smart home for you. You can open and close doors with an app. They can set it up so it's less likely you fall down. They can retrofit your bathtub. They got chair lifts that bring you up and down the stairs. They got specialized beds. They got things for diabetes control. And if you've got sleep apnea, they not only have the latest in CPAP technology, but they also have testing rooms inside of their big brand new showroom right in Evergreen Park. Southsiders, if you're thinking about putting mom and dad in assisted living, or if you yourself are trying to figure out what am I going to do as I get older or after an injury, reach out to Hyatt Home Medical Equipment. They work with your insurance, and if you mention Southside Pod, you get a deep discount on top of that. Check out hhme.com for more information, or stop in and see them 3518 West 95th Street in Evergreen Park. You guys just heard, and I'm keeping you around here this show because
We'll stay as long as you want.
I can
We'll
see
stay
how
as long as you give us beer.
I can see how uncomfortable Terry is with the microphone in front of him. Like, Kevin's doing all the talking, and Terry is just sitting here saying, if I just nod and smile, nobody will even know I was on the podcast. But you heard about that Oktoberfest, and the great thing about Neil over at Horse Thief Hollow is that he constantly tries to give me beer when I leave. You know, I mean, I don't go into any of these things trying to get free beer. I know people think I do, but like, I don't. He basically tried to give me everything when I was there. He's like, hey, you want a 4-pack of this? You want a 4-pack of that? He tried to give me at least a case worth of beer on the way out the door. And what I said was, you know what? Give me that Dunkel. I'm going to have these guys try it when they sit down at the 9-foot homemade oak bar. So you guys have it sitting in front of you. What do you think of it?
I love it.
You like it?
It's good stuff. No, I love Oktoberfest beers. I'm already well into my second one here now. So yeah, good stuff.
He said it. He's like, it's a heartier beer when it's a Dunkel, and it's better for like when it gets a little bit colder. And I think the thing is that, like, you know, we have like about 3 weeks here where we're in fall in Chicago, and then immediately it gets really cold.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's why what he made resonates, and it's on tap when it's over there. What did you think, Kev?
Sure, I agree with all of it.
Yeah.
I'm not a big beer guy. I'm sitting here drinking my Bullet whiskey and enjoying that.
Let's talk about that. No, let's talk about that. Because I thought the funniest part in the planning process for the Brew and Sip, which once again is happening this Saturday, the 8th of October, go on Brother Rice's Facebook page. You can get tickets through there. There's a lot of links. Just look at their social media, go to their website. You'll find your way to it. And again, $25 in advance. Go get the tickets right now. All these breweries
did we mention
coming.
Liam Durkin Band's going to be there too?
You did not mention that,
Yeah.
but Liam Durkin
come
Band
on,
is going to be
great
there.
entertainment, the whole deal.
When he shows up, there's like about 3 bands on the South Side or 3 performers on the South Side that when you add them to an event,
Yeah.
boom. That's something people like to go and see.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right, and very talented guy.
Yep.
But when we were in the planning process, there was a point I want to say where we were on like a group phone call or a Zoom or some Google meetings, whatever it was. And I was listening, and Terry, you back me up on this one if I'm right about this. We're talking about all these breweries, and all of a sudden I hear this one voice say, "What about people who don't drink beer? Can we get some distilleries in there? Can we get some whiskey?" And it was this guy over here.
Yeah, it was me.
Like,
I heard it.
basically,
I heard it.
Anybody that goes to this event and tries out the stuff at Thornton Distilling, or I want to say you're going to have other options there as well. You're working with a distributor as well, so you're going to have all these different options there. Yeah. All of that is because Kevin was like, well, I don't really drink beer. Like, I mean, think about that. Like,
He was
one
brave
guy-
enough to speak up.
Yeah, he was brave enough to try to get himself something
I'm never
to drink.
afraid to speak up. But
Right.
You know what?
It was a brewery event until this guy was like,
But let's
well,
be
can
clear.
we get some
Actually,
whiskey?
I do love beer. I just, as I gotten older, I get sick the next day. So I stay away from it. So we got to find options for us old guys that have issues.
I think it's going to be a great event. The Brother Rice Brew and Sip. It's for a great cause. You heard all about it here earlier on in the program. Go on any of the Brother Rice social media accounts. There's links to be able to buy tickets in advance, or just show up at the door and pay $30. That's still a great price. $25 if you get it in advance over at Brother Rice, 99th in Pulaski. And I don't know what else to say. It's Saturday night. What time does it start? Do we have
7 to 11.
7 to 11.
7 to 11.
The Brew and Sip. Check that out online. Get your tickets. See you on Saturday. Thanks so much, guys. It's now time for your Southside Pod Bulletin Board, brought to you proudly by Cool Clouds Vapor Shop. Quitting smoking is hard, and Cool Clouds wants to offer you an alternative. Plus, they have great CBD products that taste their bar at their location, 3837 West 95th Street in the EP, or check out all they have to offer at coolcloudsvapor.com. I promised a friend of mine that I would tell you all about Lamont Unlocked. It's going on this Sunday. It is an exploration of the community's rich history and architecture. It is a free public event, and it takes you behind the scenes architecturally, historically, and culturally throughout downtown in Lamont on Sunday, October the 9th. We're talking churches, schools, people's houses, places you don't normally get to wander around. Tickets are on Eventbrite. Get more information there as well. Look up Lamont Unlocked. Otherwise, you want to come and say hi to me this weekend, I'm going to be at Evergreen Park's Oktoberfest near Circle Park. It's about 97th and Homan. That'll be on Saturday afternoon. Everything else we're going to have on the bulletin board, we're just going to move on and talk with Mike Pankow here. He's our last guest of the show, and he's brought to you proudly by Sid Sauce. Small batch, flavor-packed hot sauces. Everything is grown here on the South Side. It's delivered to your home. There is a flavor for every type of food, and it's just good. Check out all they have to offer at sidsauce.net and get yourself some delicious Southside hot sauces. On the line with me right now, returning the Southside Pod, a part of the Broadcast Basement On Demand Radio Network, the host of Windy City Slam, Mike Pankow. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing great, Chris. Glad to tag team with you once again.
All right, here we go. We're jumping in the squared circle because Chicago and the South Side has a very interesting wrestling scene. Is it like this in other parts of the country, or is Chicago one of the few places that has, especially in this area, even reaching up into Wisconsin or going into Indiana, is this a unique thing where it only happens in a few different parts of the country where you have this much independent wrestling?
I mean, there are a few parts of the country that have it pretty big, like the Northeast, New York and Philly and those areas. And there's a lot of good promotions on the West Coast as well. So it's not unique to this area, but I think the Chicagoland area is one of the bigger independent areas.
And the guys and gals in the scene, they really build up their characters. Like I saw this Warrior 25 in my social media, and I know this was the one that we've had him on before here on the show. Is it Tortorello?
Nick Tortorello.
Yeah, he's out at Marian Catholic. He's the principal of the school, and he puts on these independent wrestling matches, and he runs Warrior Wrestling, and he'll do it over at the school here on the South Side. And they had Warrior 25, and I, as just somebody who's kind of keeping track of it from afar, right? Like I'm just paying attention to things going on all over the South Side of Chicago and the South suburbs, noticed this event, and then also noticed that there was like a faction and some guy changed sides, and there's a man running around in clown makeup. Frank the Clown is like running a faction. Like this is like very close to if I'm watching WWE and AEW, isn't it?
Yes, it is. They really take a lot of influence from the bigger companies, and they have some really cool storylines. They have some great matches, and yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Frank the Clown. Yeah, he's pretty much running the show now. He's got this new faction called FTC LLC. It's Calvin Tankman, Storm Grayson, our old buddy Trevor Outlaw, and now the Warrior Wrestling champion Casey Navarro is part of FTLLC as well.
They have these characters and they're showing up at different promotions. Like they'll wrestle for Warrior, but they'll show up someplace else. Like where can we catch this faction next, do you think?
Well, you'll see Frank the Clown a lot at Freelance Wrestling as well as Freelance Underground, but he manages different guys at different places. For instance, at Freelance Underground, he manages the Brothers of Funstruction. It's a clown tag team of Ruffo and Yabo. They're really big guys. They're 6'3", 6'4". They're tall. They do this whole circus shtick. It's really kind of funny. And then Frank also manages Robert Ego Anthony, who's the freelance world champion over at Freelance Wrestling. So Frank has a lot of irons in the fire in a lot of different places.
What's coming up soon? There's got to be a couple of promotions that people want to check them out coming up soon here on the South Side.
If you're willing to venture into Indiana and Michigan City, we have Chicagoland Championship Wrestling on Sunday, October the 9th. And then a promotion that sometimes runs on the South Side at 115 Bourbon, that's AAW Pro. They're going to be doing their next show up at Logan Square Auditorium. It's their annual Jim Lynam Memorial Tournament. It's a 2-night event. 16 of the best independent wrestlers in a tournament in honor of Jim Jesus, who used to be on Mancow, and it's a really kind of a cool event. Freelance Underground in Joliet at the Cantini VFW. That's Saturday, October the 22nd. And also, before I forget, Saturday, October the 15th, Wrestle League has a show, Homewood Hallows Eve, at the Homewood Auditorium in Homewood.
These events are pretty fun. Would you suggest that a family go to it? Is this more of a you go to it, drink a bunch of beer, it's an adult thing? Like, what is the atmosphere at these events for somebody who's listening to them and thinking to themselves, well, my kids might be into wrestling. Maybe they would like going to this?
I think it just depends on the company. Some companies do more 21 and over shows or more adult skewed type shows. But Warrior Wrestling is a show that the whole family can go to. They have the VIP meet and greets where they're very good with the kids and meeting the wrestlers and stuff like that. It just depends on the promotion. Like sometimes Freelance Underground runs in breweries too. And in fact, they're going to be doing their next show at another brewery in November after they're done with Joliet in October. They're doing another show at Thornton Distilling on November the 19th. That'll be more of an adult show, 21 plus type of deal.
I think I'm going to go to that one. I like going to Thornton Distilling. They come on the show every once in a while. They got a pecan whiskey that I absolutely love, and they're making it all right there. And it's such an interesting place. I know that people can go back and listen on demand to the episode that we did when we kind of explored that place. It's historical. Abe Lincoln's brothers, like an original owner, I think, back in the 1800s, was like a picture of him. It's really, Al Capone used to murder people in the building when he took it over during Prohibition. Like it's an interesting place to go have a drink, and it still basically looks the same, even though they put a few updates to it. You walk in, it's like walking into history, and then they have these wrestling matches off to the side of the bar in the middle of this historic distillery. And for me, that's a can't miss type of event. If you want to try out the local wrestling scene, that's one to put on the calendar.
Absolutely, for sure. Those are fun type of events. They used to do some shows up at Itasca at a brewery as well. So they kind of tour a little bit with the breweries, and sometimes they even go to like the VFW in Joliet, which is a show I'm going to be covering for Windy City Slam in a couple of weeks.
I think more people should probably check this out. It sounds like you could find some stuff to do with the family, or if you just want to watch people beat the hell out of each other and do some high-flying stunts while you're drinking. There's 21 and over scene as well. If people want to follow what's going on locally all around Chicagoland with wrestling, I know they should go to WindyCitySlam.com. You have a podcast there as well. Tell people about it real quick, Mike.
Yeah, WindyCitySlam.com is where I cover events and throw up photo galleries and such, and news for small promotions and even large promotions like WWE and AEW. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and the podcast is Windy City Slam Podcast on the Broadcast Facebook On Demand Radio Network. Guests every week. I try to have all kinds of different guests, whether they're local wrestlers or managers or announcers, referees, all kinds of great personalities on the show.
All right, listen up. Before I let you go, give me, it doesn't need to be the best, but give me somebody who you think is a must-see right now for our listeners, and where that person should be popping up next if they want to go see him.
Storm Grayson is the guy you want to check out. He's had a taste in AEW. He had a taste in WWE recently. He's a guy that was recently freelance world champion. He's also currently the freelance underground independent champion, and now he's even a regular at Warrior Wrestling. So he's at those three companies. He's a guy you definitely want to check out. Young kid, really kind of running himself into great shape. He looks good. He's getting better on the microphone, too. We recently had him on the podcast probably like 2 or 3 months ago. If you want to check that out, that's in the Windy City Slam archives. That's definitely a guy I recommend, Storm Grayson.
And he popped up at the Warrior thing, and I would imagine we can look for him coming up at an event soon?
Yes, Freelance Underground in Joliet. He'll be at that show. He was recently at Rocket Pro Wrestling in Joliet. I'm not sure if he's going back there or not, but he had a hell of a match with Gunner Braids there as well. So he's the guy that's getting around, getting noticed.
Awesome. Mike Pankow from Windy City Slam jumping on Southside Pod to tell us all about what's going on the independent wrestling scene. Something you might not understand is as big as it is on the South Side around Chicagoland. My friend, thanks for stopping by.
You're welcome. Thanks, Chris.
It's the South Side! It's the South Side! It's Southside Pod! Thanks for listening! Thanks for tuning in to Y'all come back now, you hear?